So I have a set of images that will work for a demonstration of the typology. And I've imported them in and I've edited them up and all that sort of global and local corrections. And I'm going to go in now and actually sort them. So I need to be in the library tab in order to sort them the way that you'll need to. And I've got, I don't know, I've got more than 20 images selected here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and maybe grab 9 kind of in a random order here. I think that's 9. And I'm going to create a new collection. Now, I've already kind of done this a couple times, but I'm going to create a collection and I'm going to call it typology. And I could call it, typology project, or maybe in my case, I'm going to call it 3x3 grid. And I'll hit create. And what that's doing, oh, it dropped all 33 images in. Well, all right, that works, I guess. If you drop in more images than you need, you can hit Command D to unselect them and just go through and hit delete, basically. And what that's going to do is it's going to delete them from the collection, but it's not deleting them from your hard drive. So I'll just take a minute. Most of these. I've got 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and I'm trying to figure out which one would be the least similar. All right, so if I've got 9 images in a collection, it's going to allow me now to sort them. So as an illustration of that, I'm going to click on, why is it not letting me do grid? There we go. I can make my thumbnail smaller. And I can arrange them so I can see all 9. So that's kind of how they might be laid out, right? I'm not quite seeing all of them. I got to scroll. But what I can do, now that they're in a collection together, is I can sort. And you've always been able to sort by these top options, but custom order is only available when you're in collections. So I can click on custom order, and now it will let me grab an image and move it around, right? So I can pull things up, I can pull things down. And what it's going to do is it's always going to sort from the top left corner, going across the first row, down to the second row, and across, and down to the third row and across. So when you're sorting these, you want to think about what's going to, kind of figure out your top row first, and then work your way to your bottom row. So I'm just kind of looking at these going like, this one feels like it's one of the lightest. This one feels very light. This one's bright in color, but it's kind of a yellowish color. So maybe this one is the other one that's kind of light. So I'll take these and I'll pull them up to the top row. I kind of like, I don't know, I kind of maybe want, I'm trying to think about what's going to look symmetrical. And I kind of like this one and this one on the sides because they sort of have these parts that sort of swoop. So maybe this one goes up top and this one goes there. Okay, so I kind of like that order. And then I'll go down and I'll kind of get this row, and then I'll go down and get this row. So this image is either left or right because it's not symmetrical. This feels like it should be a center. This feels like it should be center. This is either a left or a right. This is maybe a left or right. So I'll start by taking maybe the really dark ones and putting them at the bottom, and maybe the lighter ones up. So that kind of works for the bottom row, although maybe this one goes on the left and this one goes on the right. And then this one should be in the middle. So I'm thinking something like that. You might have more patterns that sort of lend themselves, or more images that lend themselves left or right. But think about images that are more centered versus images that are maybe more heavy to one side. And in that case, they might go to a side. So like this one is photographed kind of symmetrical on the structure of the building, but the benches are on the right side and the shadow is leaning more to the right side. So it's pushing my eye into the middle. So that's why it makes sense as a left image. Same sort of idea with this one, where we have this little gap. So our eye is going to be drawn more to the right, and then it's leading us into the other images. All right, so that I think works pretty well. And what we're going to do is we're going to export them as a grid first in the print module. In the print module, we've used this for making contact sheets, but in this case, we're going to make it a grid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going down to the bottom and making sure I'm on print job, JPEG file, and then I can type in custom file dimensions. And what I want you to do is I want you to put in 14 by 11. Now that can be either 14 by 11 if you want a horizontal composition, or that could be 11 and 14 if you want it to be a vertical composition, which of course, if you've been photographing vertical, that would make more sense. Now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna select all by hitting Command A. You might not have this set up because I've kind of sort of preset this. So I'm gonna scroll up and tell you, you probably need to make it 3 rows and 3 columns to start to get it in the approximate right place. I do not want to rotate to fit on this because we want them all to be, seen the way that they're shot. All right, I should start back from the bottom. So this panel looks pretty good, 300 PPI. This we could bump up. I want to maybe make it 600 so that way I can zoom into it. But 600, the rest of this probably is fine. Low, glossy, 100. Type in your 11 by 14 or your 14 by 11, whatever makes sense. I'll go into page and I'll make sure my identity plate is off. So we don't want to be seeing your name. We don't want to be seeing the photo info. So make sure those are off. Guides shouldn't matter because they don't actually show up in the file when we print. And then we set our page grid to 3 by 3, and we can probably set our margins to be 0.5, 0.5 across the board, left, right, top, bottom. And then cell spacing, I kind of like a cell spacing of about 0.25 or maybe 0.2. So that's going to be the spacing between the images. Oops. And what I'm noticing is that the space left or right is a little bit more than the space top bottom. So what I might go ahead and do then is I might make my left 1, 2 points more, 1, 2 points more. That kind of pushes them together. I could go to 0.8. Oops, just my left and the right is what I was trying to do here. Yeah, so in my case, because I have horizontal images, or sorry, they're horizontal images, but they are a 4 to 5 proportion instead of a 2 to 3 proportion. Mine, it makes sense in this sort of arrangement. But the idea is push the images together so that the spacing left, right, and up, top, bottom are pretty much the same. All right, then we're pretty much set. Again, we don't want any name, we don't want any other info. We have a little bit thicker border on the outside than the inside. You could play with these a little bit, but just trying to make sure it's consistent. And then we're going to go to print to file. And give it a name, something like your name, project, 9, or maybe typology project, and then call it something like final grid or 3 by 3 grid. What we also want to do though, and this is sort of thinking about how to look at them in the final presentation, is I think what we should do is we should have each image individually on a slide. So 9 different slides of your singular images, and then the final composition slide of the 3 by 3. So that way we can really see them up close and larger, and we'll see them kind of flipping through them one by one. We'll see the subtle changes, and then we can kind of look at the overall grid as our final composition. So I'm going to go back to library, and the thing that we really want to do when we export, I'm going to go ahead and hit export here. Make sure you choose a location that makes sense. What I would do is I would give it a name, your name, and then project 9. And there's the ability here, and I should have done this first, of doing custom name dash sequence. And this is how we've done things in the past. But that way it comes up with your name, the project, and then it just lists them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the thing that I really want you to do, make sure you're on JPEG. This is what we've normally been doing. What I want you to do is I want you to do resize to fit. So what's going to happen is when we start adding 9 individual images plus your final grid to the slideshow, it's going to really get large fast. So what we should do is we should size these down to screen resolution. So what that should be is approximately 2000 by 2000 pixel limit. It shouldn't really matter what resolution you put in, as long as you're selecting your width and height and putting in pixels. So you can switch from inches to centimeters. Obviously, you don't want to be 2000 inches or centimeters, 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. And that's going to limit their size to be screen resolution. So instead of being, 20 megapixels when you put it in, it limits it to roughly 4 megapixels. So it's cutting out all the unnecessary information. And then go ahead and hit export. And then after that, I'm going to switch screens here. When you add them in to your slideshow, drop them in as a one per page, make it fit pretty much the whole page. 9 different pages of your images. The 10th page should be your final composition. Make that fit the whole screen. It might, this might be a little bit different proportions. So make it fit the full width or the full height, whichever is going to do it without cropping it off. And that should be it.